Hey pet people, Bunny Basics here. Today I'm going to be working on creating some DIY toys for our parrot Dory. Her cage is very bare at the moment because she's ripped through a bunch of her toys and parrots just like to destroy everything. So today's video I'm just going to be making up some toys with some spare toy parts and things we've got, filling up some foraging toys and all that sort of thing, and bringing you along with that process. And then once we've done that, we will let her out so we can redecorate her cage and watch her enjoy all her new enrichment. So let's get into it. So today's video is brought to you by my cat Jasper. Not really, she just wanted to sit on the table that I moved for the sake of making this video, so here she is. Now, I didn't go into this with any big plan. As you can see, I've got a couple of tubs of stuff there. I also have one more tub of bird toy stuff. And this is mostly just, there's some plastic foraging toys, like this foraging wheel that you see me filling right now. But then there's also just toy parts and previously used bird toys and things that aren't, bird toys that I've purchased and have been destroyed beyond where they can be safely used in her cage anymore, but I keep them so that I can reuse parts from those toys. So I just go in and grab things and put stuff together. So at the moment, filling this foraging wheel, and although foraging wheels can be quite expensive, this kind of toy, this hard plastic toy, they are well worth the investment because you can have them for many, many years. And they're very, very enriching for your parrot because they have to actually forage and look for their food. I tend to fill mine up with sprouted seeds that aren't too wet, so it's not bad if they sit in there for a day or two, and Dory will empty that within 2 days. Now, as you can see, I'm just grabbing random bits and pieces. I've got this wood round that I drilled myself, and I've attached some leather strips to that in order to hang it up, and then I'm just taking bits and pieces from different toys and different toy parts that I have. There's some mahogany slices there, some chunks of cardboard, those little bamboo finger traps, some wooden beads, and just assorted things attached onto this hanging toy. It doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't have to be one specific type of object on a toy. It just needs to be lots of different things to keep your parrot entertained. And parrots are really, really hard to keep entertained, which is why Dory has so many problems still with her plucking. She came to us as a little bit of a plucking bird, and over time, sometimes it's gotten worse and sometimes it's gotten better. Right now, we're in quite a bad time with that plucking, unfortunately. So that's why not only does her cage she just really needs a new toy refresh, but I've gone and just really gone full on with the addition of 2 foraging things, and then the addition of, I think, 3 additional toys I made for this as well. So that other forager there, that's just another plastic forager. I filled it with random bits and pieces, an almond here and there, not too many because I don't want her eating too many almonds, but it really does, like I said, it really doesn't matter what's in there. The point is that she has to pull those things out and work at it and dig through it to be able to find anything worthwhile. So that keeps her busy and stops her from plucking. What I'm doing now is I've got this, it's like a grass rope, and I'm just plaiting 3 strands of that together, and I'm just going to attach that to the side of the cage. That's going to be a fun thing for her to disassemble and pluck at and peel apart. And parrots are actually very good at pulling threads and things apart, and they can actually untie knots with their beaks. Now, before I show you me attaching these toys to the cage, I want to go flashback to Dory's previous cage. You can see it here in this image compared to her new cage in the next image. Now, her old cage was way smaller than her new one. We got this new one, I don't even remember now, 1.5 years ago maybe, before we moved, and it's absolutely fantastic, but it's really hard to fill the space in it, to be honest. And I think at the moment her perches are too high. The other problem with this cage is that it's too big to fit through normal doorways. So when we moved, I had to transfer her to her old cage, disassemble the new cage, reassemble the new cage at the new house, transfer Dory into a travel cage, bring her over and put her back into her new cage. So it was a big saga, unfortunately, having to disassemble and reassemble this cage. But it is a fantastic cage, and normally also at the previous place I'd have lots of gum leaves and branches, like eucalyptus branches with lots of leafy parts on them that I could hang in the cage, but we don't have a big yard anymore with those big trees in it, so it's much harder for me to get those branches and all these leafy bits that she loves pulling and shredding apart. So all I'm doing here is just putting everything inside the cage. I've rearranged a couple of the existing toys, and then I'm placing in the new toys sporadically. I like to try and put them above or next to perches, so it makes it easier for her to access them. And then she doesn't have to hang on to the side of the cage in order to be using that toy. So obviously, while I'm putting all the toys in the cage, Dory is out of the cage because she's not particularly hand tame, and it freaks her out when I'm rummaging around too much in there, so it's just easier if she's out. Plus she loves flying around and exercising and exploring the house anyway. Now, secondly to that, when Dory is out of her cage, the cats are shut away in a room with their litter trays and water dishes, because it is not safe for Dory to be out of her cage with the cats also roaming around. Now, here is later that day after I'd set everything up. You can see Dory playing with her foraging wheel. She absolutely loves this one. There's some little sprouts in there, some seeds and gum nuts and all sorts in there. And she will spend hours playing with this. The only problem with this toy, I will admit, is that it is quite noisy when she's rattling it around and trying to grab in there with her beak. The cover of the wheel sort of flexes up and down and hits the casing, so it can be quite loud. Then we've got her phone book, which she loves shredding this, and this is another good thing to replicate sort of feather plucking, very similar sort of behaviour. And you can see it makes an absolute mess. This was less than an hour after putting it in there. So she loves having a really good go at this and tearing it apart, and it's absolutely fantastic. And again, same day, she's using her foraging cage as well. So all of these toys that I put in, she used the very same day, and they're just fantastic for that.
You silly Billy.
Now there is one more thing I did want to cover, and that is less than 24 hours later. This is what the floor looks like around Dory's cage. Now, you thought rabbits were messy. Parrots are almost on a whole nother level. So she's already chewed up pretty much every toy. This twisty rope toy that I made, the hanging toy that I made, she's been chewing at. She has completely emptied all of her sprouts out of her foraging box and in between her pine cone bits. She's made a really good start on the phone book, as you can see by the floor of her cage and the floor. And this foraging cage is already half empty. So she loves every single toy that she always gets, and it's really, really important to constantly be rotating those toys and refilling the foraging wheels and cages. Don't always get to rotating toys as often as I should. I will admit I'm not a perfect pet owner, but this is just one of the things that we try and do for Dory to really help with those feather problems. So thank you very much for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again next time for another one.